What's up, guys? Today I'm talking with Mark Ditto, who is a copywriter and a creative strategist who's helped generate over $12 million over the last year for e-com brands. And today we'll be sitting down and talking through his creative process and strategies on copywriting. So you don't want to miss this one. I'm Nikita from aspectagency.com, and let's get into the video. All right, Mark, what's going on? How's it been? Haven't talked
What's
in a
going on,
while.
man? It's been really good. I'm in LA right now visiting a friend. So just getting a different change of scenery, but still at it, hustling.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep doing that. Yeah, it's fantastic. I just moved to Nashville, so right now just getting settled into the place and getting back on the work grind.
Yeah, getting back into getting caught up with everything. 3 days off, 4 days off is a lot of time in our work. You know what I mean? A lot of
Exactly.
happens. So
Yeah, luckily I have a team that helps me with all the fulfillment side of things. So like I haven't been too much out of it, but I've had to push back a few sales calls today and yesterday and that's the thing, like with sales calls, you kind of have to keep taking them on, you know.
exactly, no matter what, that funnel never stops. Like you're always gonna have people on your Calendly, hitting you up, reaching out. And that's the beautiful thing about the industry we're in too. I feel like with Twitter as a platform and just the ability to network with people, we have so much reach, and a new issue can arise or a new solution can be presented like at any time. And you have people just hitting you up like, hey, I saw you talk about this the other day. And that just sparks an interest in a new relationship. I mean, it's kind
Yeah,
of how we started talking, honestly.
exactly. I mean, the new issue for you is signing on too many clients.
Yeah,
So
the balance. Exactly. Finding that balance and then figuring out how to hire for this position because it's a very interesting position. So,
yeah, 100%. I lucked out with my first hire and she's been fantastic through and through. And I was gonna say I can't recommend her enough, but at the same time, if I do, then I'm
don't
gonna
want
have
you don't want a loser. I
you know
feel it. I feel it.
exactly. But with your agency, I know that we talked a bit like 1 or 2 weeks ago, and you mentioned that you specify or specialize in angles. Can you break down exactly what the angles mean for like people in the audience that don't know exactly what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm basically a creative strategist slash copywriter. In a way, I would say a full stack marketer because I do everything from offer creation all the way to CRO and optimization, and I consult on those aspects. So
Mhm.
what I've been focusing on with a lot of my clients currently is just angle creation and helping them understand who their audience is and tapping into a certain desire within that audience. Um, I can share my screen and go over some stuff if you want me
Yeah,
to.
sure,
Um,
by all means, man.
so let me just pull up this methodology sheet that I have really quick, and we'll just run through it very briefly, just to give you some insight onto how I go about crafting angles in a copywriting sense. So
Yeah, and with copywriting and all the creative strategy that goes into it, I know personally, like if I don't have a lucid chart of it, or if I don't have some sort of PowerPoint presentation, I get lost so easily, even in my own
right,
train of thought. So
yeah, I mean, the way I think about it is copywriting is, it's rarely writing. It's mainly research, right? So I'd say a principle of 80/20 comes into play with copy, and 80% ends up being research. 10% is probably the actual writing, and then the other 10% is just refining and editing.
mhm.
So this is how I typically go about like breaking down an angle, or trying to dive into an audience and understand them a little bit more. So there's kind of 6 pillars here. The first thing is I look to understand my audience,
Mm,
their age, right? Their language. How do they speak? An 18-year-old speaks a completely different language than a 35-year-old. The second thing I like to consider is the actual creative type that we're going to be using. And so that's why planning is very important, as kind of like a segue, but we can get into that later. So
yeah,
creative type, is it a picture, a video, a GIF? They all resonate different depending on your crowd's age. So I mean, from what I've seen in the data that I've gathered, is young individuals usually like faster transitions, slick aesthetics, innovative angles. They like branding that's a little bit more poppy. And then when you move into adults that are closer to our age, I feel like there's things that stick out to me. I like strong static images, informative videos, displaying functionality and strong feature-based angles. And then with the elderly, I feel like UGC works really well for them. They like to see, they feel comfort when they see themselves in the creative. And I think that most
Hmm.
people do. But for elderly, I believe that there is a strong pull to seeing someone like you using the product. So strong feature statics work really well with them. Videos that show pain points being alleviated by your service or product. So those are just some things. Like obviously there's a whole bucket list full of different aspects to think about, but those are some just to kind of help me understand like who I'm talking to, how old are they. The
Yeah.
next thing is sex, right? So psychologically, people really like to see themselves in a position of use of a product or service. So use statics or videos with the exact demographic of who you're looking to sell to. That one's pretty straightforward. Then I look at the persona. It's a little bit more thought intensive, and I can take you through another sheet after this. But basically, we want to build the individual that we're writing to with the qualitative data that we have available to us, whether that's from customer surveys, which I truly believe in, or just doing comment research, like, or Reddit, Quora, any type of forum, just going and gathering as much data on the persona and on the individual, and then asking yourself kind of like human questions, right? Like, are they passionate? Can you tell if they're positive or negative? Is this someone that's expressive? What do they like to do? All these questions kind of help you understand like who you're really dealing with, because at the end of the day, it's another human being. So
I've seen this actual strategy used similarly with, sorry to cut you off for a
no, no,
second,
no,
but when it comes to like the competitor or not like the customer research side of things,
mhm,
especially when it like the testimony, like reading the reviews and testimonials, seeing the UGC, but like I've seen something else being done where like sometimes CEOs like would block out like maybe like a week's worth of a calendar to
mhm.
like schedule quick interviews, like 10 to 15-minute talks with their customers to
Dude,
go
so
ahead.
valuable.
Yeah, they just get as much, like obviously they record them and just ask them as much questions as they can and basically summarize all of those calls that they had together into like all the data that they have about their customers. And then that way they can create better copy, better angles, better
Exactly.
creative, and actually pinpoint the exact pain points
Right.
of the customer.
100%. Yeah, that's actually, I mean, Vesi's one of Vesi's CEOs used to do that. He would reach out to people and he would actually just like speak to customers about the product, about their life, just like
Yeah.
questions that are kind of they're different. They're not like just regular basic questions like, oh, how did my product help your life? Like no one gives a shit about that. It's
Yeah.
like let's talk about the person, like let's see how they react to certain real life questions. And yeah, so I definitely agree with you there. I think that it's super important, and it doesn't always have to be the CEO, but if the CEO is that type of individual, 100%. Most of the time I feel like it would be the sales team that would get on those types of calls too. But
I think it shows like some, brevity from the CEO, like, wow, he's actually going out there
who
and
cares,
it's
right?
more respectable from the customer point of view.
Dude, that would increase LTV like immediately in my mind. Like that, just now you just created a lifelong fan. Like someone like the CEO reached out to me. I feel like that's another psychological element, benefit for sure.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, moving on. So exploits, what are their weaknesses? What do they hate? How do you poke their ego and ride the line? Like that's what I try to do all the time. It's like we need to craft an angle that's going to piss someone off, but not piss them off at me, make them upset within themselves so they take
Mm,
action, right?
yeah.
So, how do we ride the line? How do we stay compliant? Like all those things need to be taken into consideration, but the exploits are really important. And then you move into pain points, which are just like, what are they sick of? What do you see them complaining about? If you could make their problem disappear, how would they react? Because I think you seeing how they would react, or kind of like visualizing how they would react, then allows you to display that in your visual creative. Um,
All this
so
stuff takes time, and I know a lot of people just don't take the time to do it.
that's really all it is, dude. Honestly, I think that's why I make the money I do, is because I take the time to do that research, and it's super time consuming, but it's so valuable, and it's also very fulfilling, because when you go look at your campaign holistically and you look at the analytics and you start looking at the quantitative data and you're like, wait, none of this matches up. Like, are we even reading the comments? Are we even listening to our customers? And you'll see most of the time like we're completely off the mark as marketers if we
Yeah.
don't do this research. So it's really important that this takes like precedence. Like, I don't know, I think quarterly it should be done personally, but to each their own. Everybody has their own strategies. But anyways, yeah. So pain points, like how can we kind of make them see the outcome that they want, and make them visualize that. And then you have affirmations. How can you make them say, yes, I totally agree with you. This is spot on. How do you make them agreeable and like what you're saying? So those are 6 kind of like pillars that I think about when crafting an angle. And then from there, I really look at, what stage of awareness are these people in? Again, you're only going to figure this out by reading the comments. If you're reading the comments and someone mentions, wow, I didn't know that this even existed, boom, immediately they're a problem aware. If someone says, oh man, I've been dreaming of this, I've heard of this other product, okay, they're solution aware or maybe product aware. And then if you have someone mentioning price, like, oh damn, this is a good deal compared to X, Y, and Z brand, then you know that you have them in the most aware stage, right? So it's all right there, right in front of you in the comment section. So just understanding which stage of awareness they're in, and that's pretty much it. And then I just do a whole bunch of review research, and I write 5 different formats, and test those along winning copy, evergreen copy, and I have basically another service that I offer, which is basically a creative sprint. And I've already gone over this with you in the past, but I'll just show everyone really quick what this looks like, because I think it would be valuable for people to kind of digest.
Yeah, 100%. So like that whole, like that process that you just outlined to me, is that like you do that with every single client that you take on?
If it's a copywriting service, because I do offer both, and I offer them separately. So if someone wants creative strategy, then I'm going to go through this sheet and this sheet. And this is a creative exploration, which basically is a living document that allows us to, as a team, understand who we're speaking to, right? So this is a living document that everyone on the team has access to. It's about a 90 to a 2-hour call, 90-minute to 2-hour call with the CEO or the marketing director. And we just go through and we research and we collect all the links that we possibly can, from landing pages, bestseller, selling PDPs, all the way through forums, Google searches. And then we jump into credibility, right? Like, do we have anything in the press, reviews and testimonials, proof of manufacturing, founder's background and story, which is really important, I feel like, in creative right now. Competitors, affinity brands, brands that aren't direct competitors but have the same exact audience, people like cross purchasing products that fit their lifestyle. And then we just look at their best-selling products, because if we think about Facebook, it's an acquisition platform, and that's where most of my work is done. So with Facebook, you want to target the best-selling product. What's the best product for acquisition for this brand? Because ultimately the goal is to lower customer acquisition costs. So services like yours can come in and clean house on the back end, right, on the retention side. So basically, I want to feed the retention team. And I have the principle of basically having like 60% new to brand customers and 40% returning. And that's flexible depending on the business. But the whole goal here is to just go after the best-selling product. And then, if they want to mess around with other products, we have 2 and 3 here, but it's typically just one that we want to focus on for acquisition. And then we build the archetype. This is literally like the nerdy part, right? Where we're just like building.
Dude, I love seeing this, man. This is my favorite.
Yeah, it's so nerdy, but it's also very fun at the end of the day. It's like building a psychographic is so fun. And this is just a hypothesis too, because we don't actually know. We're just taking from the qualitative data we have available to us, trying to craft an individual. Then we're testing this individual with our ads. And if our ads hit, then we know, okay, we're speaking to the right demographic. How can we then further explore, their needs and, kind of like what's bugging them. And that's where we go into just the marketing psychology sheet here, which is a very basic breakdown of how you can craft an angle from basically any one of these 8 human life forces, right? These 8 human life forces are the things that really make people take action. And so that's kind of where this needs and explicit desires comes into play. So from that point,
I love how detailed this is. Sorry, it's just like everything is living in Google Drive. Like this is as like detailed. Like I have detailed sheets that go over all the psychographics and all the analytics
Mhm.
behind the customer and all that, because we obviously need that for the intake form. But I'm
Right.
genuinely surprised at how much deeper you go into all this. Just looking through the Google Sheets.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's super. I don't know. I think it's just like over the years, I've just like tailored more and more and just built
Yep.
more and more stuff. That helps me understand my customer better. But yeah, so then you get into the value of function versus emotion. Like, why do they need the product functionally, and why do they need it emotionally? And really, this emotional section is where the winning angles usually come from. The
Mm.
functionality is like, ah, cool, that's a want need, but this is the desire right here. So it's really cool to pinpoint that. And then, like I said, it's a living doc, so the team will have questions over time, and you'll just keep them in this, and you'll just keep them keep the flow basically inside of this sheet, and you have all your survey data put on this sheet here, and that's pretty
Yep.
much it. So run through that exercise with them. Again, try to stay very poignant with like whose desires we're speaking to, like who this individual is that we're trying to target, and then create a campaign sprint debrief, which is basically an 8-week period where we test creative strategically rather than sporadically. So you're testing against your evergreens with new angles that we come up with. And then also trying to teach, because UGC content is so big right now, trying to teach UGC creators how to understand the elements of a good creative. And so that's basically this breakdown right here, and this goes into a lot more detail, but I won't get into it right now. It's basically just
We'll be here
a
for
very,
hours.
what's that?
We'll be here
Yeah,
for hours if we're breaking this all down.
exactly. Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to give you guys a little glimpse into what it looks like, but yeah, it's just a basic hypothesis, scientific method way of approaching testing creative. So
Dude, this is insane. Like, I mean, I think a lot of people just watching the first like 10, 15 minutes of the video are going to get a lot of value from it. And look, there's a lot, obviously there's a lot that we haven't covered yet, and we can probably do that on a different call. But like, how did you even get into this industry to begin with? Because like, obviously you've built your way up through it over the last couple of years, but now it's just like, holy shit, that's a lot of documents. That's a lot of detail that you get into. But like, what sparked all that?
man, I know I've been my upbringing is weird, dude. Like my mom has been into uh not e-commerce, but like she was just really into business and entrepreneurship, like from a really young age. She always pushed me towards that. Um, and even when I first started, actually, like as a kid, I would do door knocking shit with her for real estate. Like I just got into sales like at a very young age, and I realized I had a knack for speaking to people, and I had a moral compass. Thank God that allowed me to just be very transparent with people, and it allowed me to be really successful in sales. So I've had a lot of different positions in sales over the years, and then I started working for an engineering company. In 2015, I want to say, and I started selling screen printing machines, and that was kind of like my first introduction to Shopify because I was selling these machines to big ass companies like that. And now looking back, I was like, oh my god, I worked with Ivory Ella in the beginning, like before
Yeah.
they were the monster that they are now, and I was selling them their screen printing machines, which is so cool. And yeah, from there, I started to discover the world of e-commerce, and I knew I wanted to get into it at some point. And then I met my fiance in 2018, and she introduced me to one of her best friends, who is Zach Duncan. And Zach started an agency in 2020. Well, he started it probably in 2019, but I got introduced to him, and then I started living with him actually, and then I started working with him for free. I just basically like took on anything that he would be willing to teach me. So I got my start with media buying. Then I saw that copywriting really fits more of my stylistic like nature.
Mm.
And then I started getting into CRO and all, just basically just diving into all of it for years straight, like just going as hard as I can, taking courses, learning from people, reaching out to people to learn as much as I possibly could and get on calls like this. And that's in a nutshell the journey that I took to get to the position I'm in today. Um, Went from a
Well,
small agency to a huge agency to realizing that I have a lot of potential, that I'm not reaching because I'm working for someone else. So I had to take the leap. It was super scary, but I'm so glad that I did.
Dude, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of pivots in your life essentially. And trust me, like it seems like that's the normal entrepreneurial journey, is like you're just trying out a bunch of shit at once and you're just seeing what sticks. Like I personally, like I knew about screen printers way back in high school because I used to design my own t-shirts.
Nice.
And when I found out you can do that on Shopify, that's where like my introduction came in. And then I'm like, okay, how do I get more sales? And started looking into that, buying courses, and
Right.
then work my way up there to make my own agency and go from there. So there's a lot. It's crazy how entrepreneurs are just like, it's crazy how much they try out and whatnot and get to the end goal that they get to.
We're not afraid of failing, I think. That's
No.
the main thing. I think like at the core of us, it's like,
So what?
fuck it, I'm gonna try
Yeah.
it. You know, like I swear to God, I say that like once a week. I'm like, ah, fuck it, let's try it. Like, let's just see what happens, you know? And then
Fuck around and find out.
yeah, for some reason stuff just works. And I'm like, wait, all right, well, now my mentality is always gonna be like, yeah, let's just give it a go and see what happens. You know, things aren't always gonna be perfect, but that's kind of the beauty of life, is like not knowing that it's always gonna be successful, right?
The
Even if I failed,
uncertainty.
I would have just pivoted, you know? So
Exactly. Like since you have like your own, you control your own destiny in a way. Like obviously there's things outside of your control. Like maybe you didn't close this client because of their sales cycle or whatever. But like there's
yeah,
still like things you could do within your power. Like if things like nuclear case, you can still get yourself out of it. You know.
right.
So
Oh, 100%. That's honestly like one of my just life beliefs is, if it doesn't kill me, if I'm not dead, I'm gonna be fine. I could
yeah,
lose my house, I could lose where I live, I can lose my car, any physical possession, and I feel like I'm fine. Like it doesn't really affect my mentality, and I think that that's the key to being successful, is really just understanding yourself and knowing, like, mentally you need to be strong through thick and thin. There's going to be crazy moments, stuff that arises that just comes out of the blue, you know, family passing, or you know, losing friends, or whatever it is. You just have to be resilient, I think, and just continue to hammer at that resilience. It's like, you know, it's like a brick wall that you're just like patching
chipping
up and
away at it. Yep.
yeah, you're just making it like impenetrable, that mindset, right?
Yeah.
Because you
Exactly.
have to expect the hits. You're gonna get hit, like you're gonna get knocked, and then you just know you're just gonna keep going. You know, 1% a day, basically.
Yeah, one of my mentors told me like way back. I lived with him. Like he helped me out significantly. Just changed my mindset around work and entrepreneurship and like the actual work ethic you need. And he was
Mhm.
like, I was like, oh shit, I'm killing it this month, and like this is going well. He's like, look, man, like I don't want to rain on your parade. Like great job, but at the same time, like there will be an obstacle that will hit you at some point. You will have to fight through it. Like everything's going good, but there will be an obstacle.
Right.
A week after that, like my Facebook ad account got banned. I used my mom's that got banned, and then my dad's that got banned. And I'm like, fuck. I had to buy a whole new computer and set up a whole new. It was just a whole mess. But
Oh
like,
my God.
but I was like, damn, he was right. God's
That's the
testing me
story
right
though, dude.
now.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's funny that he said it and then the next week something happens. And like if you didn't have that conversation, it might have been a little bit harder to overcome, you know,
Yeah,
or you might
yeah,
not have looked for the solutions that you sought out.
yeah. But that was a great learning lesson for me of like if something does happen, like I learned how to quickly pivot into like fixing the problem. So like now if something comes up, I can pivot like or I can come up with a solution relatively quickly on how to fix things and get that fire taken care of immediately.
Right. What
So
are some of the biggest issues you run into, like not on a daily basis, but maybe on a monthly basis, like bigger issues that you have to overcome?
I'd say consistency. Like that's the biggest thing. Like I know what needs to be done. I know like I have to put out content. I have to like make sure I'm checking in with the team. I have to make sure that like fulfillment's there. But like if I'm focusing like heavily on one area of the business, whether it's the sales, the content, the fulfillment, then other things start to slip.
Right.
So like the consistency, like while I like my goal is to always be consistent with all the things that I'm doing, I know that one like a ball is getting dropped. So like that's probably the biggest thing that I try to focus on. And like having like a good work schedule has helped mitigate a lot of that, where like all the deep work is done in like the first couple hours. And then after that, I take my meetings and then do any of the light work that needs to be done, like clearing out emails or following up with people, etc. But for the most part, like still like with this move, like I've been off for like the last 4 or 5 days, just trying to get my life back in order because of,
yeah,
so it's just things like that where like I've fallen off the rock, or I've fallen off the wagon, but now I know next week I'm going to be back at it 100%.
yeah. And I mean, I think that's natural.
Yeah.
You're gonna have those moments. We all have those moments, even without moving. Some weeks you're just like, the energy is not there, and the only thing that can keep you, because motivation is fleeting at all times. So it's like your consistency and your discipline and schedule are so important.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Mark, I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time here. If you were to give like a TLDR or like a TLDV of what happened, like I guess what are like the 3 biggest like high leverage things that like I guess ecom brand owners or just all brand owners can do to like improve the quality of like their angles or the creatives or the copy that they're doing?
Yeah, so high level, I would say number one thing, make a good fucking product. That's it. If you make a good product, everything else comes along with that. Focus on product quality. The second thing is branding, and I know these aren't really answering the questions, but they do matter. Good branding will take you a long way, and that doesn't mean flashy. That just means like it resonates with your audience. And then 3, just please do your customer research. Like talk to your customers. That's the most important thing you can do. Ask everyone who has ever interacted with your brand a question about their life, about who they are. Get deep with them and understand who they are as individuals, because that'll give you some insight on angle creation and other ways that your brand can be successful.
Yeah, 100%. All 3 of those are crucial, and number 3 is definitely missed out on for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, really appreciate it. Where can people find you if they want to work with you, or if they want to contact you?
Yeah, for sure. You can find me on Twitter at Dito_Mark. And I'm going to start building out my YouTube channel as well. My name is not, I need to have over 100 followers before I can change it. It's old, so I'm not going to put that out there, but you can still find me. You can find me in Wiz of Ecom's Utopia too. I'm a moderator in there for copywriting and media buying. But yeah, those are the 2 main places that you'll find me. You can always reach out to me on Twitter.
Perfect. Awesome. Will do. Well, thanks again, Mark, and hope to talk to you soon about more creative angles.
Amazing, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right. See ya.
Good speaking with you.
Thanks again for watching. And if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so that you're caught up on all the latest email and marketing training. If you liked the video, hit the like button and drop a comment on what your favorite part of the video was. And if you're a D2C or an e-commerce brand with an email list of at least 10,000 subscribers, make sure to click the link below the video and book a call with me and my team. We work with all kinds of e-com and D2C brands and help them scale their email revenue by at least 30% month over month. So click the link below, we'll hop on a call, look over your account, compile a strategy, and create a plan of action on how to raise your email revenue. After the call, you'll have the option to use the strategy yourself with your own team, or you can choose to work with us. All up to you. It's completely free, no obligation, so click the link below, book in the call, and if you have a list size smaller than 10,000, keep watching the videos and you'll get a lot of value and learn how to increase your list size as well as generate more revenue from email for your store. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.